So the next thing I want to talk about is the magic number of reps, because what I just said probably made it sound like, oh my gosh, Bri has a magic number. She says, I have to do hips up time every day from 3 to 5 p.m. for 3 to 5 minutes. That means that's a rule. And that is not true. That is not true. It's just my suggestion, okay? Oh my goodness, it's so confusing out there for anybody who isn't grounded in their sense of what their body needs. It's absolutely overwhelming, all of the information we're told. Don't do this, do this, don't do this, do this, don't. If I could tell the world one thing, it would be take in the information you see, but then trust yourself. Trust yourself and what your body needs. So I do have some guidance on sets and reps of exercises, and I also understand. I understand how it can be scary when you're trying to do a new exercise and you don't really know, like you're looking for guidance because you're scared you're going to screw something up. You're scared you're going to hurt yourself, do too much, not do enough. And so I understand. In fact, I was actually thinking about this parallel to people who ask, me, how many reps or sets should I do of X, Y, and Z? And I think of it as myself, how terrified I am of technology. And if something breaks on my website, or if something is not working correctly, or if I have a question, I am freaked out because I am not grounded in technology. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm not skilled in it. I'm not practiced at it. I just don't know. I'm scared I'm going to break something. And so I will go to somebody who is a tech expert, and I will pay them money. I will ask them everything. And to them, they're probably like, that's like a silly question. Like, this is the easiest thing ever. But for me, it's not. It's really hard because I'm not practiced in it. So I really, really say, first and foremost, the reason figuring out sets and reps is easier for me is because I have a lot of practice. I feel quite embodied in my body when it comes to exercise. And I totally understand that not everybody feels that way, and I get it. And so what I want to say is, first of all, it takes practice and tuning in and being gentle with yourself and very gently experimenting and being open to that, learning some guidelines. Because I will say, back to that whole tech analogy, when I have learned some basic guidelines in tech, like my website stuff and learning how to create a web page and like all these things that I don't like it. I don't like it. I'm not good at it, but I have learned some basic things. And over time, as I practice that, I'm like, oh, this isn't that hard. Like, I actually can figure this out on my own. So anybody out there can figure it out too for sets and reps of exercises, and even how to progress exercises, but that's a whole nother topic. So the first thing is practice makes perfect. And gently experimenting very slowly. And there's 2 questions that you can think of when you're thinking about an exercise. The first question is, what are you going for in this exercise? Is it strengthening, or is it like relaxation and release? So that's the first question to ask yourself, is what kind of an exercise even is this? Am I trying to strengthen a muscle group, or am I trying to stretch something and relax something? What you have to do is trust yourself to gently experiment and figure out when you feel the appropriate response that you're going for in your body. So for example, when you're strengthening something, when you're wanting to strengthen a muscle, you're there when you feel a little bit of a burn, right? Like, that's what we're going for, is that little bit of a burn. I don't want anyone to feel like, I'm not really a no pain, no gain type of person, like push till you bleed type of thing. That's not it. But you do want to feel it. Like, you want to feel, ooh, that fire. That's a good thing for strengthening. For stretching, the response that you're going for in your body is the feeling of melting. So you can think of it, it's like you're either going for a burn or you're going for a melt. So that's your answer, is when you feel those things based on your first question, which is, what am I even going for in this exercise? If you're going for strengthening, you go until you feel that little burn. Of course, you have to make sure that your form is correct, you're using proper form technique, that it's feeling really safe in your body, that you're feeling the burn in the right place and not like, feeling a burn in your low back. If you're doing an ab exercise, that's a bad burn. That's not the burn we're going for. You need to have a general enough awareness of what the exercise is that you know, okay, what body part am I trying to work? And then what am I going for? Strengthening or release? If I'm going for strengthening, I want to go until I feel a little bit of a burn, of course, in the right muscles, of course, making sure that my technique is correct. And you can do that by just really carefully listening to the instructor. For example, in my YouTube videos, people accuse me of talking too much and instructing too much. But why do I do that? Because I want to keep you safe. Like, it's kind of important to stay safe. And so I do try to, I hope I provide sufficient instructions to keep people as safe as I can doing things on YouTube. But going for that burn. And so the thing that might kind of blow somebody's mind is that when I'm doing a YouTube video, for example, there's no magic number of reps and sets of a certain exercise that I'm doing. I'm just doing till the point where I feel it in my body. So whatever I'm doing on screen, it's because I feel it. Okay? And that's so important to keep in mind and know, is that my body is different from other people's bodies. And so if I'm doing an exercise, it's not because there's some book, like encyclopedia of, I'm going to do this exercise today. Okay, it says I'm supposed to do 15 reps and 3 sets. Okay, close the book. Let's instruct it on YouTube. No, I'm just showing to the point where I feel it in my body. And so that's where you can really be empowered to figure out your own best number of sets and reps, depending on what you're going for and when you start to feel the response in your body. I mean, follow the person that you are, like if you're watching a video on YouTube, for example, follow along and see how it feels for you. But if you reach your point for a strengthening exercise where you are feeling that burn and you're like, I'm tired, if you keep, before I do, or before the person on YouTube does, or the person you're watching, or the fitness class you're at, or whatever, but if you feel that burn long before they do, what could happen that's bad is you could keep going because you want to keep up with the video or the fitness instructor or the class, and you could hurt yourself. Because once you push past that point of, okay, I'm feeling that good burn, to the point of a bad burn, you lose your form, you break down your form, and you might start doing the exercise incorrectly, and it could hurt your body. It could hurt your back. You could have downward pressure on your pelvic floor because your muscles are like, I'm donezo, like I can't go any farther. And so I'm going to start to, not work as well. And so then you could have pressure issues, you could have back strain issues, etc. So just be sure that you are listening to your body, because that's your correct number of sets and, reps and sets. Okay. So I hope that all makes sense. And then the melting feeling for stretching. I mean, a general rule of thumb with stretches is that you want to get into your stretch, feel fully supported with props if needed, and then hold it for 30 to 45 seconds. But there's different methods depending on the type of stretch you're going for. Some people like dynamic stretching where there's some movement involved. Some people like really long holds where you're getting deep into the connective tissue, like yin yoga. But 30 to 45 seconds is a general rule, but really, again, it's what are you going for? And when do you feel that melt? When do you feel that point where your muscles start to finally go, okay, I can kind of, like it feels like they're almost unwinding. That sensation is when you know you've reached a great place in your stretch.